5:15 p.m. This meeting will come to order. Let's please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, on a roll call, all members are present. I will mention that we have a couple new faces here, I being one of them. I'm new here, and Jason Atherton is also new. And then we also have four new, four-year terms new for Carroll Seaman and Laverne Dirks from the last election. Now we'll move on to budget fiscal year 2025 funding requests. And the first one will be from the Animal Rescue of Carroll. We'll need your name and then go on.
Ashley Hanlon. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the City Council. My name is Ashley Hanlon, and I'm here on behalf of the Animal Rescue of Carroll. I want to thank you for allowing me to be here this evening as we request an increase in donation from $5,000 to $7,500. As we are all aware, costs have increased across the board in our everyday lives. That is no exception to the cost for caring for and housing animals at the Animal Rescue. With the tireless efforts of our volunteers, staff, together with the generosity of this community and council, we have made a remarkable impact, enabling us to rescue, rehabilitate, and rehome pets. Each year, we try to care for as many animals as possible. This year alone, more than 240 pets found their forever homes. The financial obligation associated with this mission is undeniable. Our resources are stretched thin as we try to maintain the quality and scale of care these animals deserve. The expense for food, facility upkeep, veterinary care, and the basic operations continue to rise. Our veterinary expenses have risen nearly 50%. Our food costs nearly 90% year over year, both large expenditures before the substantial increase. We aim not for extravagance, but for practicality. We take steps to save money where we can. This includes volunteers donating time and resources to make runs to Sam's Club, buying in bulk when on sale, and utilizing pet food pantries. Despite all of these cost-saving measures, on average, expenses for care for each animal we adopt out was over $400 in 2023, a number far greater than our adoption fees. This means that every animal that leaves our doors is only able to find a home thanks to donor supply funds. I ask you to consider the vital role the shelter plays in the community. Many families in town have happier lives because of the pets they adopted from the ARC. Many more animals have been given a second chance at life after being picked up as strays, abandoned, or unable to be cared for at no fault of their own. We work directly with the Carroll Veterinary Clinic, the city dog and cat intake facility. The ARC takes 95% or greater of these dogs and cats not claimed by an owner following police pickup, saving them from euthanasia. This fall, we assisted in a hoarding situation near Lanesboro, along with the Animal Rescue of Iowa. Without the ARC, quite a few of these animals would not have been given a second chance at life. Our community values the welfare of these animals, as evidenced by the volunteer support we receive. The generosity we have received from this council has been invaluable in our mission to provide a safe haven for abandoned and stray pets within our community. The lives we save, the families we unite, and the compassion we foster, these are dividends in your support. As we continue to aim higher, our financial challenges also mount. Therefore, I humbly appeal to you all to consider increasing your support of our efforts from 5,000 to 7,500 to align with the level of service we provide. With your continued partnership, we can expand our reach, keep our facilities shipshape, and ensure that we help as many lost and abandoned pets as possible. Together, we can make a profound difference in the lives of these animals who rely on kindness and compassion. Your increased support will not only save lives, but also enrich our community by showing your commitment to the vulnerable. Excuse me. Thank you for your attention and consideration. We eagerly anticipate your support in making our community a better place for all, including our furry friends.
Any questions for Ashley?
I just have a couple questions. Do you guys receive any donation from the county?
No,
No?
no.
I have one, and I noticed you said that you get pet food pantries. Where are these pantries at?
Cedar Rapids.
There's one in Cedar Rapids.
Yep.
Okay,
And they notify us when they have food available.
okay. So do you take donations from people in town? You do? Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
Because I've got a nice 80-pound bag of dog food I'll give you.
Yes, we
Okay.
do take.
And
we
if
take-
it's something that we can't use, then we donate it to New Opportunities to their food pantry because
Okay,
they have people coming looking for bread, and that's what they were feeding their animals when they would run out of money for pet food.
okay. And plus you utilize that someone drives over there and gets,
Yes, yes. One of our volunteers will
Okay.
drive over there once we're notified that those are available for us to pick up.
okay, any other questions?
How many years were you at $5,000?
Oh, I guess I'm not sure.
It's been since fiscal 18.
18. That's what I thought.
How much was it
18.
before that?
That's when we started.
That's when you started,
Yep, and
okay.
that was the level we started at, was 5,000.
And ballpark, what is your total operating costs, I guess? You don't need an exact number, just ballpark. Where does 7,500 fall into that?
I do have our budget, our profit and loss budget overview. If you guys want to see those, too.
Yeah, I can see that. That's
Okay.
fine.
Do you-
Yeah.
I have several of them.
Okay,
Or you get it down.
okay, thank you.
Anything else for Ashley?
Yeah, Ashley, when Mike Davis sent us his letter of support, he mentioned that he donates his time.
Yes.
And one of the things you mentioned is the veterinarian costs are going up. Is that because you need to utilize them more? Their fees are going up? Does anybody else do pro bono work
So we
besides
do
Mike?
have a member, Drew Knoll, on our
Okay.
board that when he is back, he does do what is required by a vet, like rabies shots. But some of the expenses, if we have like a cat with an eye problem or amputee, we have to take them to a vet. So those costs have increased depending on, like, we utilize the vet school at Iowa State. So they learn and can do some things for us, but things like that, we have to go to a vet.
Sure,
But so
sure.
costs for that have increased.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks for your time. Okay, we also have a presentation from the Carroll Historic Preservation Commission. Vicki Gatch is the president of that organization. She was unable to get here because of the inclement weather that we have. And Carolyn Seaman, you have her information with you. So Carolyn, go ahead.
I gave you some additional information that Vicki was going to speak about in addition to the budget ask. And I'll let you look it over at your leisure if you'd care to. But she wanted me to run through what we accomplished in 2023. And the very first thing she mentions, I know you're aware of it, is that Vicki and I will be presenting our application on February 9th, 2024 to the State National Review Committee. That is the top committee that will be reviewing our app. And there are 9 people on the committee. It's a mixture of architects, landscape architects, historians, preservationists, et cetera. And we will get their comments a week or two after February 9th. And then we may have to do revisions, et cetera. Then it goes to SHPO, the State Historic Preservation Office. It's a long process. Once they're happy with our final application, then the state sends it out to the National Park Service, who is the final arbiter. They will go through our app and then let us know. They take about 2 months to decide whether we're worthy of getting Graham Park on the National Register. So anyway, just to update you on that. The second thing she has down here are the cemetery walls. And Vicki and I and other volunteers have been working on the iron parts of the cemetery walls over the last few years. And we have been scraping, then we've been painting. It's all volunteer work. We bought all the brushes. Vicki and I bought the brushes, the scrapers, all the paint. We did not ask for any help with that. Then we got Chuck Clausen involved to soda blast because we weren't able with our scrapers to get all the layers of paint and rust off. So he started as a part of the cemetery maintenance soda blasting. He wasn't able to help us last summer, but he will be back. And then we have volunteers lined up. We bought a whole bunch of paint. It's stored in Vicki's basement, so volunteers will be, again, using up the paint we purchased a year ago, and we will be doing the painting. Other projects, you're aware of the Cemetery Character Walk. We did a Memorial Day in conjunction with the American Legion's activities. Then each member of the commission, and their names are on the budget ask. We take turns every month. We're in charge of cleaning the museum. We take care of the lawn, et cetera, purchase the plantings. And so we will continue doing that. And then we have a big cleanup day in May where we all get together and, excuse me, and clean. We also, Vicki and I started a few years ago, we attended a webinar on how to clean cemetery stones, and the National Park Service recommended what is called D2. So in order to get things ready for the last two cemetery character walks, she and I and some others started purchasing the D2, and we started cleaning. We have 63 Civil War veterans in the cemetery. We have other veterans, World War I. You'll see they aren't maintained. So it's real easy to do. And so we've been cleaning the older and historic tombstones so you can actually read the names, date of birth, death, etc. It's been really phenomenal what we've discovered. So we want to keep doing that. And then John Steffes a few years ago spearheaded, you may have read the article on the Little Red Bridge. He started working with Jason Christensen out at Swan Lake, and one of the interns out there a few summers ago helped design the sign that is finally up in Rolling Hills Park. And so it was a joint county city. Chad helped with it, but mainly it was spearheaded by John Steffes. But we all communicated, worked together, worked with Chad to find a location, and we finally have it up, and it's really a neat piece of history it's focusing on. So what we have in our budget ask is more than usual because we're hoping we will be successful and get Graham Park on the National Register, which will open up opportunities for grants, and we can hopefully get some grants. We want to do fundraising, et cetera, to keep the 80-year-old stonework, the bridges. They're all so historic, and we want to maintain the park. And so if we get on, we're asking for the $1,200 for the two plaques. Vicki and I ordered them through Boyce, and you have to go and get the official plaques through the National Park Service. And when we got the plaques for the cemetery, she and I both chipped in and we each bought a plaque. And now we've decided we're going to come to the city and ask if we get on the register, if you would consider contributing to the 2 plaques. We want to keep cleaning the tombstones, and the D2 costs about $45 a gallon. It goes a long way, so we were hoping to get $100 to continue cleaning the historic, not everybody's tombstones, the historic tombstones, to keep cleaning those. We are also required to stay, active, to be a part of the State Historic Preservation group. We are required to attend the Preserve Iowa Summit. Vicki has gone before and others. I've never gone, but the registration fee is $100 per commissioner, and we are required to have at least one person go. They would like to see more, so therefore the $200. We're asking for $400 to help with promotional fundraising materials, printing, mailing, things like that. Vicki and I are going to meet with Chad. He has some ideas, then we're going to present it to our group. The Preservation Commission is going to meet Wednesday night, January 31st, and we're going to brainstorm how we can get things going. We already have some people who have offered and given us amounts on what they will donate, and they are significant. So anyway, that's what we did in '23. We want to keep going with the painting of the wrought iron, and again, we need money for paint, but we're willing to get the brushes. We're willing to do the painting ourselves. The commission is really dedicated to these projects. So anyway, that's the scoop. Do you have any questions? And you can read through the other details. I didn't want to take too long.
I think I have a question. As far as getting Grand Park on the National Park Registry or Historic Registry, what limitations does that create for us on the development of that park?
None that I'm aware of. Our application, our application covers the history of Grand Park when it was first deeded to the city in 1920 by Ida Graham Doherty. It was her father's land that she was given, she inherited when he died. And she deeded the land to the city. And so our time frame that they wanted us to cover when we worked with the State Historic Preservation Office is from 1920 to 65. And there are no limitations. The skate park, we had to send them pictures of Vicki and I had to measure everything in that park, every window,
So
every pillar.
Once it's in the historical thing, there are some type of.
Yeah, oh yeah, you can do updates. That's a good question, Jason.
But I have to send it through the National Historic
No, we don't.
Registry. So if I wanted to put in, let's say, an AstroTurf field that's lit up or something like that for kids to play on, because it's our central park there.
Yeah.
And I feel like
No.
as a city individually, we should be able to maintain as much control of
They-
our
they-
individual city.
They do not
park.
control that. In our application, we included pictures of everything that's in that park. And when it was built, who built it, who designed it. I mean, we have to go into considerable detail. So we have the new tennis courts, that's in the application. It's past our historic period, and they are very interested in how the park is getting used. And because the north part of Grand Park was the original site for the Carroll school system football field, they want it to be, when we talk to historians and preservationists, they want it to stay up and keep its original mission, which was not only for picnics and, a park where you just go hang out, but its original mission was to provide recreation and leisure and sports. There have always been tennis courts there, but not always in that part. We've always had sports there, but it's moved around. They were interested in the skate park, so they know everything that's in that park, and they are fine.
And I understand that they know everything in the park. Maybe you don't understand my question. My question is that if we add new things to the park, I got that everything in the park is at a
Right.
history. What is the process to changing and adding things
There-
to that park? Do I have to go through the historic registry?
No, I've
to
answered,
change?
Jason, I have answered your question. They have no control.
Okay, yeah, that's, okay, thank you.
Yeah, I
Appreciate
said that, maybe I wasn't clear, so, anyway.
Okay, yeah.
No, we can, utilize the park, how we choose whatever we wanna fund.
Okay,
That would be a council decision,
yes, okay.
yeah.
All right, I just wanna make sure.
Thank
on
you,
that.
yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Carolyn, I don't know if you would know this or not, but what else is on this registry besides the cemetery, which is correct?
The
You-
depot,
Okay,
and then the old Carnegie Library. where
Okay,
the-
those
yeah,
three things.
Those are, yeah, they're all on the National Register,
okay,
yeah.
all right. Any other questions? All right, thank you, Carolyn.
Yeah, you bet.
We move on to the consent agenda, which includes the approval of minutes of the December 18th, 2023 meeting, approval of bills and claims, approval of license and permits, which would be the renewal of Class C retail alcohol license for the Carrollton Inn, and appointments to committees, commissions, and boards, which includes two appointments by the council. The first is Sandy Thompson, appointed to the Board of Adjustment for a 5-year term to expire 12/31/28, and Mike Long, to be approved for the Planning and Zoning Commission, a 5-year term to expire 12/31/28. Any questions or any?
I just want to comment, I like the new format on the bills and claims,
Oh, yeah,
a lot cleaner,
That's the new software, yes.
yeah.
yeah, it's
Very nice.
good.
Anything else? All right, we'll need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. Second? Didn't catch who did it, though. Okay, Tom, okay.
I did too, but it's,
I didn't.
as long
We'll
as you
give
got
you,
two, then that's all
we'll
we
give you a
need.
second. All right. Got that? Tom and JJ. All right, we move on to oral requests and communications from the audience.
Excuse me, do you want me to do the roll call vote?
Sure, why don't you do that? That would be great.
Atherton?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Cordero?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes.
Shrek?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes,
Motion is approved.
That works way better than waiting until after this. Okay, oral requests and communications from the audience, that's for members of the public wishing to address the council. For items not on the agenda, is there anyone here who'd like to come up and speak their piece on anything? Not today, okay. We'll move on to ordinances. The first one is the Ziegler Urban Renewal Plan. And, I'm sorry, that's not the first one, is it?
That is.
Okay. Okay, you got it. All right.
This is just again, this is our second reading of the ordinance to put the urban renewal plan in place so that we can collect the increment to help fund the water and sewer infrastructure going out to the property out west of town. So it's just the next reading in the ordinance. Or if you'd like to waive one of the readings and finish it up, we could do that too.
Can we do that?
Yeah,
You guys all agree with it?
let's waive the third.
Do you want to make that motion then?
Yeah, read the second and waive the third.
Read the second and waive the third. All right. There's a motion for that from Laverne, a second.
So moved, second.
All right, second. By Tom. We'll move on to a roll call vote, please.
Bauer?
Yes.
Seaman?
yes,
Shrek?
Yes.
Atherton?
Yes.
Cordero?
Yes.
Dirks?
Yes,
Motion is approved.
move to adopt,
Okay.
move to adopt.
We gotta have a second motion to adopt it.
Yeah.
Oh,
adopt.
okay.
I'll
Very
move to
good.
adopt the ordinance.
Second
I got Laverne and Carolyn on that one.
Either one.
it. Get me on there. See me down here, right?
All right, roll call vote, please.
Atherton,
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Bornero.
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Shrek,
Yes.
Dirk.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted.
She let you go first in exchange for that, so.
Most fair and
All
level.
right, so we need,
Resolution, right?
Yep.
We gotta do a resolution yet.
right. So we need to make a resolution accepting an engagement agreement with Allers and Cooney, correct?
No, this is
No.
authorizing and confirming advancement of costs for an urban renewal project.
Okay,
That's allowing us to collect the increment for the area.
Well, this particular one is for basically kind of the legal fees and stuff to get it set up, as well as maybe some introductory, engineering fees. Some of those early fees of the project.
Should have had her explain it anyway.
It's very similar, it's an internal loan, just like we've done. The general fund is paying for it right now, and then once we start collecting increment, then we'll wanna repay the general fund for
Okay.
some of these legal fees and administrative costs.
And you charge interest on that, right?
No, this one we won't.
On this one we
No.
don't?
okay, we'll need a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Laverne and Carolyn? Move on to a roll call vote, please.
Dirk,
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Shrek,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Bornero,
Yes.
Atherton.
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
All right. Okay, we'll move on to Carroll City Ordinance, Chapter 63.01 Amendment, second reading. This is regarding the speed zone changes on North Grant Road. And Brad.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, this is the second reading from the ordinance that we had at the last council meeting, and just a quick recap. What this will do is it'll move the speed zone on Grant Road north to the south edge of the golf course. So at that location, for southbound traffic, it'll change to 25. For northbound traffic, at that point, would change to 35. This was at a request of the residents and a couple of the condos that live along Grant Road next to, or across the street from Fairview Elementary. So we believe that this should help with slowing some of the traffic down that location too. And since the reading back in December, I have not received any information either for or against this code.
I've had one comment against moving he would prefer to see that the speed limit changed probably to 35 for the most part there, but that's the only comment I've had too,
Is
so.
there like gonna be a probationary period?
Well, yeah,
it
we'll
like
put this,
that day
we'll put our
we have-
speed sign up to, if we do make the change, so that people are, the one that flashes and kind of let you know where you're at, just to give people an idea. And then, yeah, we'll be writing, well, within reason, if someone's going 50 there, we're probably gonna
No, yeah.
continue to write
Yeah.
citations for those ones.
Yeah,
But
but
if
if
they're
you're-
close to that 35 where it's currently at, then we'll be very generous for those, for the time
Okay.
being, until that kind of gets a little bit normal. And if it does change too, now we're gonna be at the mercy of the weather, I think, to get signs and stuff removed or moved back too, so.
And I was asking
There
for
could be
a
some
friend, I
delay
don't
for
have a
that,
speed.
so.
You okay with waiving the third?
I am.
Anyone else? All right, how about, we're looking for a motion now to adopt the speed zone change in North Grant Road and probably adopt the second reading and waive the third, please.
So moved.
Second?
All right, Tom and JJ that time. Move under roll call vote.
Seaman,
Yes.
Atherton,
Yes.
Bornero,
Yes.
Dirk,
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Shrek.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
Thank you.
Okay,
Motion to adopt the ordinance.
and we'll need a note motion to adopt the ordinance, please.
So moved.
Tom? And Second. Jason?
Probably
Move
gonna
on
take
to-
it there now.
Yeah, there you go. It kind of depends on where I'm looking too. We'll move on to a roll call vote for that, please.
Bornero.
Yes.
Shrek.
Yes.
Dirk.
Yes.
Atherton.
Yes.
Seaman.
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted.
Okay. Now we'll move on to ordinance establishing a vacant property code, and Aaron.
So in an effort to establish new and available housing, the city staff has researched ordinances that require vacant properties to be registered within the city. Essentially, this penalizes property owners that allow properties to sit vacant for an excessive time and enhances our abilities under 657A to claw back those properties. This code allows property owners to rehab or sell without penalty. It's a fairly common ordinance throughout the state. So we would like the city to look at the first reading on this and move forward with it.
All right, and we all have a copy of that, so, any questions about that?
I do. I think one of the things we were talking about earlier in one of our meetings was the vacant property standards. I'm trying to find them in here since this is first time reading through it fully. But as far as a vacant property, is there a way we can change that to where, like you and I were talking about?
The vacant lot.
Vacant lot, yes, the vacant
Yeah,
lot
we-
portion.
One of the
So how can
questions
we bring
was,
this up and
could
talk
we-
about it?
Could we change the vacant lot to either, what would you prefer to see for
Well,
the
I could
vacant
see
lot?
it, you know, if somebody's, they're gonna build on it soon, rather than just a vacant lot. And I understand if it's not an adjacent lot or not next to theirs, or maybe they own it across town, but they're taking care of it. Why should they be penalized and have to pay for something? If it was a nuisance lot where they're not mowing it, you know, where it's just sitting there, they don't take care of it, that's a different story. Then it becomes a nuisance, but if it's something that a lot where people are taking care of it,
I read this whole thing that it was a structure.
right?
There's a section in there that talks about vacant lots, example, however,
I missed
if you purchase a lot that's adjacent to your property,
Yeah.
that does not constitute a vacant lot. But if you happen to own a lot in the middle of town and you're just sitting on it and not building on it, not doing anything with it, then that becomes a vacant lot. So I think Dave and we could probably have some more conversations about what to do with that, whether it be for nuisance and or for time, and maybe put something together there to adjust that.
Now that.
You see where I'm going with
I got a
that?
grasp with this, you wanna re-explain what you said? I wasn't quite understand what you were saying before.
Well, if
I
it's a
didn't quite
vacant
grasp
lot
it.
and there's nothing on it, how does it fall into it, Dave?
Well, the exception would be if there is a owner that's
Right.
that's adjacent to the vacant lot.
Correct.
That owns the home or the building.
Right.
Then that's exempt.
Okay.
That lot would be exempt.
But if Jason
think
owns
you're-
one across town, hasn't sold it yet,
Yeah, if Jason has an empty lot, and he isn't an owner on either
of
adjoining
it.
side of the property, this would come into play.
okay?
Now, I guess you could always address these vacant lots by the nuisance ordinance.
Right.
You
But
know,
if
where
Jason's
they
taking care
notice,
of it,
you know,
and
if they're not mowing and
Right.
there's trash on there, we can kind of take care of the lot in
Does
a
that make
different
sense to
way.
everybody, where I'm going with that?
Yeah,
Because-
You know, as far as,
when I read this whole thing, I wasn't thinking of that at all.
no,
When we went through this ordinance, and of course, we've looked at a number of different cities, we did talk about the vacant lots.
right,
Now, if council would like, we could take the vacant lots out and then just address them with the 657A, but I think if somebody wants to buy a lot in town and then just sit on it, well, someday I might build on it, compared to, hey, maybe my plan is I'm gonna buy this lot and build next year. I think maybe we could add a time frame to it rather than just say, well, maybe someday I'll build on it. Or if you wanted to take the vacant lot portion out, we could do that. I think keeping an eye on vacant lots is kind of important, but
I think that if they're not maintained, then we should be trying to insert ourselves, but I think if they're being maintained and there's no trash or garbage or nuisance, I mean, I own it, so why can't I maintain it and keep it?
well, it's part of being part of a city.
No, I
And we're
understand,
trying
but
to promote
I don't
housing.
wanna force somebody that owns their property to have to sell it, even though they've maintained it and done everything that they're supposed to by current code.
See, where I got a little confused is on the registration form, it's talking about $100,000. You know, to me, that's a property.
Well, that is a house,
Yeah.
yes.
So are you gonna change this application form then?
We probably would.
Yeah, the application would have to conform with the ordinance, Laverne.
Yeah, so if
Whatever the
we're
ordin-
looking at empty lots, then this $100,000 needs to be changed.
Yeah, that would, you'd have
or if
to
you're looking
adjust.
at $100,000, then empty lots don't apply,
That's kind of, yeah.
so either way.
Or do
That
we
makes
look at
sense.
having two ordinances, one for vacant lots and one for structures?
I think part of the reason for this ordinance is also to help identify these vacant houses and buildings. I think that's a big part of the ordinance. So the city can get its hands around these possibly troublesome
Correct.
properties.
And I understand the nuisance properties, but I see what you guys are saying. If you have a property within the community, you're maintaining that property, you might have the nicest grass in the entire neighborhood, you know, and, I do see that as that's a fine line that we have to go through the two of them. And so, I'm not against it, I guess, but maybe with more conversation, maybe. I'll let you guys have, I mean, that's kind of where I stand. The structure thing I understand, because we want to progress the city, we want to move the city forward. I understand the structure aspect of it, because we don't want structures there. But, I mean, a vacant lot that is maintained is, and I guess I'd have to see a list of vacant lots of where this affects it. Now, a nuisance lot and a vacant lot are two different things,
Right.
so.
So what I would suggest is we pass the ordinance with, the first reading of the ordinance with Dave and I going to look at and get input from council as far as adjusting the vacant lot part of the ordinance prior to the second reading.
Well, I
something
think let's
you-
resolve that issue
I'm not
before
sure if I'm for
we
that.
take any vote
I just
on the
didn't,
first reading. That's my suggestion.
That's fine.
Do what now?
That's fine too.
I would suggest that we resolve the vacant lot issue before the council takes a vote
Yeah.
on the ordinance. You know, do you want it in, do you want it out?
Is there any way to write it so that it specifically says vacant lots that are not maintained? Or that the city has had to go in and do abatements on?
It probably could. But I think then you're probably moving then into the nuisance arena, which we already have the ability to address.
Or
You
if
know-
it's a vacant lot and has two nuisances upon it, or what, you know what I mean, whatever it is, like, yes.
Well, for a nuisance, if there is a nuisance on it, there's still some punishment or you still
Maybe
have
that's
to-
what needs to be addressed then. How many infractions has that property had, and at what point then do we step in and do what we've done? I mean, I don't know what
And
the
we're
answer is.
almost there, it's just a fine line between somebody maintaining their property and they own their property. And I agree with the city, you got structures that are falling down and, you know what I mean?
That I 100%.
Well,
agree
Yeah,
with.
that,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
Well,
just,
I've
it's
read
just
this
really
whole
that
thing.
fine line, I think, that.
The other side of that is though, you know, we've been looking for infill lots and there are some in town that people are just sitting on, which, I mean, that's their right to an extent, but if we want infill properties, infill housing, those are the lots that we need to get sold to put some housing on.
But I don't think this ordinance is your mechanism to acquire ownership of vacant.
Well, no,
In,
but it incentivizes them a little bit to not have to pay that registration fee if they don't wanna.
true.
So we're gonna apply a registration fee on a lot that's well kept up.
Yes.
That might be a little
Yes.
hard for stomach out there for the public.
Concur.
My suggestion
Strike it.
is divide them and get two ordinances, so it's not so complicated. And restart this.
I didn't see this as applying to somebody that has a lot that's well-maintained at all and just leaving it there. I know people that do that. And under 15903 applicability, it says the provisions of this chapter shall apply to all buildings.
Yeah.
So I think we're looking for a problem that doesn't exist. And the thing is, if it is, you know, it says, defines vacant lot, and then it gets into waste, weeds, et cetera. Well, as Dave said, this falls under nuisance property, et cetera. And so we have a way of dealing with that. But I do not see that this is in any way infringing on someone's right to have a well-maintained lot that is not attached. I didn't read that into this at all, because everything has to do, it applies to all buildings. General, the provisions of this chapter apply to all buildings. So,
That's how I originally read it too, but they brought up this. I read
yeah,
it as just the
so
buildings
I
and
didn't
stuff.
see that.
So you're looking at
anybody would have a
159.04, right?
159.03, general, under the black and bold applicability, meaning what does this ordinance apply to? It applies to all buildings in any zoning district in the city of Carroll. Buildings.
Go down, go to 159.04 and then read through the registration required. The vacant building for number 1, A,
Yeah,
and then go to number 2, vacant lot,
to register it, yeah.
right? So that's where I'm getting at. I have a vacant lot that I take care of now. I have to register
So
it and
you're
pay a
saying
fee.
people shouldn't have to register it?
I don't think they should. If it's just vacant,
Or if they're registered, they shouldn't have to pay the fee if it's a well-maintained lot.
right?
That's for us to hammer out. I don't know, Dave, what do you think?
Well, yeah, it sounds like council's diverging here a little bit. I guess if it's a issue, I would suggest you remove it.
Yeah,
Take out the vacant lot.
Yeah, take out the vacant lot
Right.
references. You can always come back and amend at a later time if the situation is warranted,
So since
such a change.
Since this only, 159.03 only refers to building, you just need to take out number 2 on the registration required, correct? Vacant
Yes,
lot,
and-
number 2.
Yeah, and there's reference in the definition of a vacant lot, things like that, but we would
Okay.
just go in and strike any reference to a vacant lot.
This was a
in any-
template that came
In
from
any
other.
registration.
Okay.
And just to be clear, this is gonna be for commercial and residential properties.
Correct. Properties, yes.
Okay.
yeah. I think that would be wise to do that and deal with any nuisance under the other chapter of our code, yeah. I mean, I didn't have a problem with them registering, then we know where they are. We can monitor them, see if any of them have turned into nuisances, things like that. You know, they're paying, the registration's 1% of the assessed value of the lot, which, you know, isn't huge at all. And you know, if you're forced to register it, then you're also forced into maintaining it, which could prevent us having nuisance lots. I don't, you know, I'm all for incentivizing being people that take care of their property. So,
So we'll rework this and bring it to another meeting, but I had one other question. Mine was on proof of insurance coverage, that $100,000 in general liability coverage. It just seemed like it was a little bit low to me, but that's what we require. I mean, health, or homeowner's insurance is higher than that.
Well, depending on,
I mean, I thought maybe this was an old document even, 'cause-
some of those properties that we're talking about, the assessed value overall is 20.
Right, I'm not talking about, I'm talking about liability for an injury.
Liability,
Oh.
yeah.
I read I don't have a problem with the fire and casualty coverage, that's the next line down, but it'd be 3A, proof of insurance coverage for the property including, it says A, $100,000 in general liability coverage.
Well, you can say no.
That's
to-
when-
you can
that's
say
when-
no on that one. It's
What-
not. If it's not worth that much, you just say no.
Doesn't liability refer to
Your
when
neighbors.
a little kid
cover
walks up and
everybody else.
falls down a hole?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, $100,000 just seemed a little bit low to me. requiring that, that's pretty low for insurance. And I might be wrong on that, but I mean, any policy I've seen has just higher liability amounts. That's referring to your essentially homeowner's insurance, correct?
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll check into that before you write this new one up and see what,
Okay.
I'll talk with a couple of insurance agents and see if that fits, if you're all right with that.
Good luck.
All right, so, do we need a motion to table this at this time, or,
Yeah, we
You
should
just
have a
want-
motion, we should have a motion to table it.
okay,
With
you wanna go with anything else
No, I'm good.
before that?
I
Just postpone it till
Yeah,
you're
we
ready?
can do that.
Okay,
I just have one more thing about the registration form also, not to change anything in the ordinance. In the ordinance itself, under 159.04C, it mentions, and it's in its italicized, unregistered property fee of $750, which kicks in if they don't register their property, then they are fined, correct? So this would be on top of finally registering the property. So I am all for this to incentivize people to get something done with their property to add value to that property. You know, tear it down, rehab it, whatever, and quit ruining the, you know, the neighborhood and impacting other property values. And I just, here's my idea. I thought importing that language into the, about the unregistered property fee of $750, importing that into annual registration fee to say, if your answer is no under annual registration fee, then say there is a penalty, an unregistered property fee of $750. And I guess some person in the city, Rick or somebody, Dan, well, you know, when these people are identified, then there are means we can take to collect the $750, but they will still owe the 1% of the total assessed value. Is that correct?
Yes.
I just think it would help us incentivize people if we included that somewhere in, I know there's not much space, but I think it's an important part of your ordinance, Dave. And I think it would be good to, not everybody will read all 8 pages, but it will maybe serve as an incentive for people to get registered so they don't have that tacked on in total. So somewhere if they mark no, that their fee is not enclosed, somewhere in there mentioning the unregistered fee, whatever you want. But use the, is
Yeah,
that,
staff would have that opportunity to do that as far as the form's concerned, as long as they're consistent, as you mentioned,
yeah.
with
I
the
just-
ordinance itself, they can,
So that,
Address
we
that.
don't, no, I don't want, you know, this is not impacting the ordinance at all. I just thought that would be a good thing to add to the registration form. So that's it. Thank you for your work on this.
So will this be billed out similar to the rental property inspections? So like every year, I'm getting a bill for XYZ property
Yeah,
unless I sell this?
correct.
Okay.
Yep. Or if it's not registered, then we'll find you eventually.
Okay.
Takes a lot of time, you know,
Yeah.
tracking down people and if they sell and trade and.
Well, the nice part about this too is for the fire department, if these buildings are registered as vacant, you know that there should be nobody inside if you have to,
True.
Rick
Where'd we
tried
call
to
that?
maintain a pretty good list, but even like the vacant properties, you know, getting a list of what those, where they are would be beneficial to him when he's doing that stuff, you know, it'd be helpful.
and we have a number of these properties that are sitting around town.
Correct. I have a list of 15-ish, and I've been told there's a couple more that I don't have, so.
And you look up the total assessed value of some of these properties we've discussed, and they're like 45,000, 50,000, something like that. So 1% is a lot less than getting that 750, you know, and you add those, the 1% to the 750, that's sizable. So I really like how we're putting pressure on these people to take action, and I think it will help Rick and Dan.
So,
And I guess of these 15 properties that are on, like we've identified just between us, how many of them are maintained extremely well or?
That's why they're on the
They've had
list.
their water meter.
Most that's why we have them on our list.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah.
These don't have water or electricity.
Correct.
hooked up.
Most of these
Yeah.
have had
Yeah, okay.
their water meters pulled or haven't had they haven't paid city utilities for a number of years. And we could probably check with electric to make sure they don't have, I mean, that's kind of what we'll base it on is how long haven't they had city services for, to really put that into place.
so one of these properties I pulled up through the assessor website is valued at $12,000. I don't feel $120 personally is enough to make somebody move or do something on this. Is there a way we can put a minimum on there?
Think about the penalty too, though, Kyle. If they don't register, they're paying the $750. Does
But
that help out at all?
no, my only worry is $120. $120, I mean, is very minimal, I feel like, to
To get us off their back.
correct. I mean, they could pay $120 and, for instance, this house has been sitting there for almost 8 years in this state. After having a conversation with a neighbor, which it's not fair to them either to have to
We
look
have
at
a
this.
graduated scale then. Second year it's 2% or something like that. Puts a little pressure on it. Dan?
They don't do anything with them. The fees there could be increased. I mean, to make them, because I mean, Rick has had conversations with a few of them that, yeah, we'd probably sell it, but you know what? There's just no motive to move them.
Yeah.
Just pay the small taxes and move on. They don't, and then Rick eventually has to turn around and go after and get the yards mowed or clean up after it.
I think you have to make it, hurt a little bit. Like, 100, I don't feel like the $120 enough for that example I just gave is enough to make somebody move to do something on it. If you had a $500 minimum, there's no reason that we don't have a house in town that isn't valued at $50,000 or around that. That's my thought on it. Me personally, $120 is enough to make me move to sell it or not.
A fair statement.
And I think that, again, I'm repeating myself, but I think a very large part of the ordinance is to identify these properties. We can take action, if it's a vacant property, we can take other legal action to acquire ownership of those properties. So I don't see this ordinance as being an enforcing, title grabbing ordinance for these properties. I see it as a registration.
A stepping stone.
You guys can get your hands around these numbers, whether it's 15 or 20 or 12, whatever it is. And then you can make some decisions on what you want to do. And if you want to create a pecking order, we can do that. These 5 need to be handled immediately. And this is what we're going to do. But again, that's council decision on which
I
you
don't
charge
think
for
that anyone in the
registration.
council looks at this as a title grabbing thing. We want to motivate people to do something with their property and make it better for our city, and unfortunately, we just aren't in that situation on some stances, and so I see where Kyle's saying is that if you're not gonna do anything with it, is $120 gonna motivate you to improve it, not improve it? That's where we gotta kinda come to an agreement on, you know what I mean? And by no means I'm taking anyone's land or anything else like that, but we want them to be motivated to improve their land, and if they're not gonna improve it, then be motivated to sell it to whoever it is, and so.
But see, what Dave was alluding to was 657A, the Code of Iowa. And there's a whole list of things that if these are in play, like the utilities have been turned off, if it's unoccupied, whether it meets the city's housing code. This is the roadmap to getting title to the house. So we don't have to keep, so what Kyle said is one piece of the puzzle, But if you meet all these standards, this is the roadmap for us getting title of the house, and then we can handle it. So we don't have to put up with, like, you know, somebody just paying a minimal fee. Other things are kicking in at the same time that we can utilize to use the Iowa code. It's all laid out.
We can agree to disagree. I would rather have the individual owner motivated to do something with the property than government stepping in. Here I am, big government, I'm coming in to change something, so. But yeah, either way, it works out. I would motivate someone.
I don't
to do something.
disagree with you, but I
Yes.
would venture guess most of these people are not gonna do anything, so we need to motivate them
We
to do
do,
something.
we need, and that's what we're doing, is providing the
And the fee,
motivation.
the fee
Yes. Mm-hmm.
isn't necessarily, this is where I agree with Dave. The fee isn't necessarily the hammer. 657A is the hammer, so if you don't do something, we know you have a vacant property, we can go down the road of taking your property if you don't do something with the property.
I think we're on the right track here, we just gotta look up the little nuances of it.
What happens currently, is there follow through when the rental property currently, when they're not paying their $35 registration fee? Is there follow through if they're not paying for it, or not paying to register?
Rick's on top of that. If they're not current with their fees, is that what you're saying? Yeah. He's, every month he goes through and they invoice out who has to be for the next year.
And when
Because they
they're
don't all
not
come
paying-
due
when they're-
in January, they're all spaced out, hence when they were inspected.
And those that aren't registering or paying their fee, what's the repercussion?
So Rick spends his time, so if I buy a property from Kyle, nobody knows that sale until Rick happens to get the water, the gals at the front desk will say, hey, we had a water meter change here. Is it a rental, is it a purchase? And then we wait for the whole transaction to happen, and then he'll go after them and try to say, okay, you need to register it, that type of thing. There's a process it's not just a quick.
Well, anytime you end up in the abatement or the nuisance process, it takes time, and that's one of the frustrations throughout the community when there's a bad property or a rental property not registered. It just takes time
Takes time to go through.
because you've got your due process that we have to follow.
I think we need to make it clear to the public, this isn't about taking somebody's land. It's about cleaning this junky property up
Right.
next to my house or your house. It's not fair to the neighbor or that neighborhood, so.
Correct.
And
So-
one of the reasons I like this thing is because the rental housing inspection has proved that what Kyle just said, is some of those units have been fixed up and the surrounding neighbors are appreciative of that being done. So this is another extension to that.
So we will take this ordinance, Dave and I'll be in conjunction with you all before the next council meeting. And we will address some of your questions and we will get this rewritten and some of the registration.
Who's
fees
gonna
taken
administer
care of.
this? What,
That's
Rick?
out of
Rick?
building.
okay.
And I think if you print a copy of the Iowa Code 657A and go to 10B, you'll see it's very listed. Is the house uninhabitable? Are windows boarded up? Are there weeds? Is it a nuisance? Does it comply with other parts of your code? You'll see that, you know, these people have a track record and they've been given time. And now we're kicking in, you know, with the 657.
And maybe that's where we increase it incrementally is on the fee process. If you're not mowing your lawn, you're not doing all this stuff, we're gonna go out and for $35, they're probably not gonna pay the $35.
We
And so
already do that.
We'll
Yeah,
incrementally
that's-
increase
Yeah, we
it
already
that
do
way to make it, you know what I mean?
That's
So-
a part of our nuisance code, another code, that we use that a lot,
Ready? All right,
yeah.
all right.
So we got the public hearing now for.
We have the understanding, so we're gonna go on to the Rolling Hill South Fifth Edition rezoning request, and we need to open a public hearing. It is 6:14 PM. We'll open the public hearing regarding that. If there's any
So-
go ahead.
Okay, yeah, so what we're doing is or actually what 704 Development Corporation is is requesting is that they change their property there to the south of their current development from ag ground to R3. They also have a section of the property that they are going to requesting to put a PUD in, and they want to put three threeplexes in that area. Those threeplexes will look and have the same floor plan as the townhomes. I forget what they're called.
Timber Creek.
Timber
Condominiums.
Creek condominiums. We have those floor plans if you'd like to look at them, but as what I would recommend moving forward is pass the first reading tonight, and we will look at the second and third readings at the next council meeting.
Questions anywhere? All right, let's close the public hearing at 6:15 PM. And we'll look for a motion.
So moved.
Hey, Tom? Tom, Jason, second.
Just playing catch up.
Move to a roll call vote, please.
First reading, correct?
Yes.
As presented is what I normally will say, meaning what he said. Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Stratton? Bauer?
Yes.
Atherton?
Yes,
Dirk?
Yes.
Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Motion is approved.
gotta remember it's snowing outside, we gotta.
Yep. I need
Moving to
move this.
resolutions.
All right, move on to resolutions. Rolling Hills South, 5th edition, regarding the preliminary plat. And we need to talk with Randy here today.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mm-hmm.
I can go through this whole thing on Rolling Hills South 5th Edition. We've presented 4 resolutions for your consideration. Preliminary plat, final plat, and then water and sewer agreements. We'll start with the preliminary plat, but before I start that, the final plat will skip. That cannot be approved until the rezoning is approved. And so that will follow the rezoning at your next meeting. But as far as the preliminary plat's concerned, 704 has submitted it. It's just over 6 acres, 6.04 acres, located south of the Rolling Hills South 2nd and 3rd editions and north of Pleasant Ridge Road. The plat consists of 15 residential lots plus the 1 PUD lot at 1.77 acres. South Ridge Drive and West Ridge Drive will both be extended, are proposed to be extended, to serve the lots in the subdivision. Plus, it will be served by public sanitary sewer and water main. For the construction of those public improvements, you had previously entered an agreement with 704 Development Corporation, which was called an agreement for private development. And among other things in that lengthy agreement was the requirement that 704 completed the construction of these public improvements by December 31st, 2024. So by the end of this calendar year, they have committed to completing the street, water, and sewer in this subdivision. Planning and zoning did meet on December 13th and recommended tentative approval of this preliminary plat. And then skipping the final plat resolution, we have also provided for your consideration resolutions for water and sanitary sewer service. That is a requirement of the DNR that the city commit to providing water service and collection of the sanitary waste from the subdivision. It's part of the permitting process for the construction of those 2 facilities. So unless there are any questions, I'd recommend your consideration of tentative approval of the preliminary plat, and then passage and approval of the resolutions for the water and sanitary sewer service.
You want to wait on 3?
No, we need 3 motions. So
Right.
first is the preliminary plat.
Okay, so if, I don't see any questions on this, so we're gonna, look for a motion to approve the preliminary plat
So moved.
by Tom,
Second.
JJ. All right, move to a roll call vote, please.
Dirks,
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Cornero.
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Shrek, Atherton.
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
Okay, we'll, also now look for a motion approving the final plat.
So moved.
Oh,
Water supply service.
There you go.
We're skipping the final one.
Excuse me, we talked about that before, okay. Now we need a motion, to approve the water supply service agreement, please.
So moved.
By Tom,
second?
JJ. Move on to a roll call vote.
Shrek,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Dirks.
Yes.
Cornero.
Yes.
Seaman.
Yes.
Atherton.
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
All right, now we need a motion approving the sewage treatment agreement.
So moved.
Tom,
Second.
second by JJ. Jason. Roll call vote, please.
Dirks,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Shrek,
Yes.
Atherton,
Yes.
Cornero.
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
Okay,
Randy, real quick on this, on the final plat, they've got lot 10 is 1.77 acres.
Yes,
Yeah, that's the PUD.
that's the PUD.
Okay.
anything else? All right, move on to the resolution B, water high service pump number 1, replacement.
Thank you, Mayor.
Randy?
The plans for the high service pump,
Public hearing, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'll have to get better at these things. It even says it right here, public hearing. We need to open a public hearing regarding this at 6:21 PM.
Thank you.
And go ahead, Randy.
okay, thank you, Mayor. Plans for the high service pump number 1 replacement have been submitted. They do include or detail the replacement of that original high service pump number 1 at the high service pump station. It was originally built in 1970. The plans also include repainting of the building piping, which has not been done since 1970. Specifications detail that replacement and repainting. They are the statewide urban specification that we customarily use. Supplementals to that, plus special provisions for this project in particular. Form of contract is the statewide urban design sample form that's been used for most of our civil projects in the city. Estimated cost for the pump replacement is at $286,800. For the building piping repainting at $177,450 for a total of $464,250. The piping and pump replacement are bid the same, although it's an alternate bid. So at the time bids are considered, you can decide whether or not to award the painting replacement. Total project cost is currently at $523,920, and the funding is proposed from the Water Utility Fund. Bid letting is January 16th. Those bids will be brought for your consideration at your next meeting on January 22nd. Completion of the painting we have set at December 31st of 2024, and completion of the pump and motor replacement at June 1st of 2025. The reason for that extended time is the equipment has at least a 1-year delivery time on it. So we
Randy?
anticipate they could.
How many feet of piping is being repainted? Because when I sit and look at it, $177,000, like, wow, that's a lot.
It's a lot. It is not a lot of piping. It's about 2 lengths of that building, which would be maybe 120 feet. It's,
That's what I'm saying. I was gonna ask too. It's like, so how many gallons of paint will this take?
well, not a lot of gallons. The problem with this is the current paint is lead. And the removal of lead paint is the big ticket item in it. And so we're recommending to get rid of the lead paint at quite a cost, and then put current paint on it.
Is there any grant money out there for something like this to get rid of the lead-based paint?
Yeah, I have never run across any in what I've read.
And have we looked at the cost of just removing the pipe at that number? Like, and just replacing the pipe with the lead paint on it?
No, we have not. I would expect it would be considerably higher. This is 16-inch diameter pipe, and it's steel pipe.
But it's kind of a short, you know what I mean? Like,
Lots of fittings in it. That's part of the problem. You know, it's interior piping that runs
And this
from,
is something we bid out. This has been
Yes.
bid out.
is it worth looking at, just removing the pipe with the paint on it? And,
probably not.
okay.
I mean, it's all fittings, it's all bolts and fittings. So the costs are tremendously high for construction of the piping.
But it's, you know, how much more would it be? Because if we're gonna end up with a new, we're already at that number. If it's 20,000 more to remove, like, we'll have newer pipe instead of 70-year-old pipe. I guess is that's where the cost analysis on removing this paint and just replacing it. What is that? Where are we at on that? With that high of a number, I guess, is
It is kind of a
is
good
it
question.
beneficial just to put in new pipe at this point? Because then we don't have to mess with it and we have brand new pipe in there.
We can try that. It's, at this point, let's see, we're within a week of receiving bids on it. So we'll probably receive bids, and we have some time after receipt of bid to decide whether or not to award it, or just not award it. That's an alternative also.
And it doesn't cost us anything to request bids just to remove it, correct, more or less?
That's what, to remove the lead paint?
No, to remove the whole pipe with the lead paint and it's all gone.
Yeah, it would cost us to do that, yes. We would have to spec out the replacement and bid it to get a number on it.
It costs us money just to get a bid?
To get a bid, yes. Now, we can get an estimate for a small amount of money on it, but if you want to take it to a bid, then you have to have a plan and define it, so that's going to cost money.
Oh, yeah.
Your cost there to get an engineering estimate on what it would cost to completely do a different project of removal of pipe and stuff like that would be that other cost that Randy's talking about. Not just removing the pipe and replacing the pipe, but you're gonna have to have it engineered, even though it's already there, to have it engineered
Jason,
to
welcome
do
to
that.
City Council.
It seems like that number, you're just, I think that we're
You're
kinda
right. You seem-
hamstringing ourselves.
It sounds
see.
like it's
Yeah.
expensive, but in government work, it's not astronomical. I don't wanna say it's not expensive, but it's doing business in the city, in city government.
Yeah, and now we just still end up with 70-year-old pipe, or not 70, 40-year-old pipe or whatever, you know
Yeah,
what I
but-
mean, where we could just,
But that pipe internally inside a structure is not going to deteriorate like pipe that's buried out in the ground. It's not $100,000 hammer.
yeah, I mean, it was just my thought of like, just pull the
I
pipe out
understand.
and put it
I'm
in
right
there.
there with
might
you.
be-
I
might be
looked
cost
at it, I'm like,
effective to just, end up with a new pipe.
Yeah.
So, okay.
So this is the backup to the water tower, right?
No, this is the.
High
Inside
service,
the water plant, water treatment plant?
in the high service pump station
Yes.
at the south end of Adams Street.
And then,
Fill the water
again,
tower.
is there grants
This
that,
is what you use to fill the water tower.
Yes, yep.
are there grants that we can apply for, obviously with it being lead, and I assume we're out of code with it being lead paint, to get, you know what I mean, to get this lead paint, the removal off of it?
Kind of like asbestos is what you're
Like,
looking
yeah,
at.
like asbestos or something like that, have we,
I have never run across any grants for lead paint removal.
okay,
Just in passing, I have not.
okay,
Okay.
makes sense.
Sort of.
Yeah, it sort of makes sense.
All right, we're ready to close the public hearing then at 6:29. We'll move on to, we'll look for a motion to approve the adoption of the plan specifications, form of contract, and estimated cost of the water high service pump number 1 replacement.
So moved.
Tom? And Carolyn.
Second, whatever.
Carolyn, second.
Thank you.
Move on to a roll call vote, please.
Atherton,
Begrudgingly, yes.
David,
Yes.
Shrek,
Yes.
Dirk,
Yes.
Bornero,
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
All righty. All right, next thing we got here is the US 30 sanitary sewer extension certificate of substantial completion. I didn't miss one, did I?
Nope, you're right.
No, okay. And Randy.
Thank you, Mayor. King Construction had completed the US 30 East Sanitary Sewer Extension Project. If you recall, that was some time ago, sanitary sewer extension from Griffith Road about 2,000 feet east to serve a couple of properties out there. The substantial completion date was September 2nd of 2022. And the date of full completion in the contract was August 31 of 2022. Liquidated damages in that contract were $500,000 a day. Substantial completion had not been recommended for your acceptance prior to this time because we had kind of an issue with grade correction that we discussed at length for quite a while. And it's now been corrected, so the recommendation for acceptance is coming to your table. Final construction cost at $623,094.61 versus the contract cost at $634,870.69. Primarily the difference in linear footage of pipe constructed. So unless there are any questions, I'd request your consideration of a waiver of the liquidated damages and acceptance of the certificate of completion.
No questions? All right. Move on to, we'll look for a motion to approve that
So moved.
by Tom and second by JJ. Roll call vote, please.
Shrek,
Yes.
Atherton,
Yes.
Dirk,
Yes.
Bauer.
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Bornero.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
All right, and goal setting report for 2024, please.
As you all are aware, on November 29th of 23, Mark Jackson facilitated a strategic planning goal setting session with us, going through with the council for the next budget year. One-on-one meetings were held with the city department heads prior to the goal setting session, and the highlights from their responses were shared with mayor and council. The priorities that the council set there were 12 priorities. Top priorities were Merchants Park improvements, improve water pressure in the northwest part of the city. High priorities, acquire land for development, update fee schedule, and soccer field parking expansion and lighted parking. Also talking about improving organizational effectiveness, tour of city facilities, and setting up visits to other cities. With that, if you don't have any other questions regarding the goal setting report, I would consider a motion to approve the goal setting report from 2023 for 2024.
Okay, questions at all? All right, we'll look for a motion, please.
So moved.
And by Tom and Jason, right?
Kyle got that.
All right, Kyle?
We'll take it.
Kyle, you win. All right, roll call vote, please.
Bornero,
Yes.
Atherton,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Seaman,
Yes.
Dirk,
Yes.
Shrek.
Yes.
Motion is approved.
All right, we're getting down to the end here. Committee reports are next. If anybody, I read mine this time for once. I did read them. I trust everybody else has read them as much as they need to read. And we'll move on to comments from the mayor. I have one comment, and that is that I've asked Carolyn Seaman to be the mayor pro tem again. She just finished a term doing that, and I've invited her to do that again, which she's accepted, and I'm happy that she has. I have no other comments at this time. Are there any comments from the city council? You're done with Laverne with what you took care of before, and then any comments from the city manager?
I don't have any more.
No comments from you, okay. Then we'll look for a motion to adjourn,
So
please.
moved.
Second.
Here we go.
Okay, all right, Tom made the motion, Jason seconded.
Brett?
Yes.
Jerks?
Yes.
Seaman?
Yes.
Cordero?
Yes.
Atherton?
Yes.
Bowden?
Yes.
We are adjourned.